Good evening, Lena.
Thank you so much for joining tonight. I see people are joining in. So thank you guys for joining in. I want you to show my sister some love, my special guest some love tonight. You guys know what to do. So let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from, represent your city or your state. So show Donise some love and make sure that you guys engage with us tonight. We're going to be talking about colorism. Oh my gosh, a very heavy topic. But we want to make sure that we educate you tonight and bring some wisdom, bring some healing in this area. So if you have questions, please make sure that you ask us questions as well. Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for joining. It's so nice to have you join and support us. Tanya, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us, sis. I really appreciate you joining in tonight. So again, we have a very special show tonight. So I'm Lena Lassiter, for those of you who do not know me. Who is this lady talking to you tonight? I am the president and founder of Forever Healed. We are a nonprofit, and what we do is we help those who are suffering from a broken heart due to a loss of any kind. We want them to restore their lives, reclaim their lives, and we want them to heal. I am a advanced grief recovery method specialist. I have my master's degree in human services counseling with a specialization in trauma, grief, and PTSD. I'm also on the National Bereavement Coalition Board, and I'm an active member on the National Bereavement Coalition for Homicide Service Providers. We are also an active partner with the Richmond Police Department Victim Witness Assistance Program. And more recently, you guys have heard me talk to you. We have just partnered with the Richmond City's Sheriff's Department to provide grief services for their staff as well as their residents. So I see you guys are still coming in. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Brandy. How are you? Zakia. Hey, Zakia. Hello, hello. Hi, Kathy. Thank you for joining and supporting us tonight. I really appreciate you guys. So again, I have a special guest. Welcome, Donise. I am so happy to have you join us tonight.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
So, Donise, woo, what haven't she done, you guys? But you know what? I'm going to try to break it down a little bit. So she serves as a diversity and inclusion specialist for Genworth Financial. She's an HBCU graduate with a degree in criminal justice and a minor in pre-law from Elizabeth City State University. She also holds a Master of Business Administration, Human Resource Management degree. Donise has led many forward-moving initiatives to push for equity in the community. She currently serves as a board member for Roads to Recovery. I want to hear more about that, Donise. She is also a member of the Young Professionals of Central Virginia. She is dedicated to helping others improve and achieve success both personally and professionally. She's a wife and a mother of 2 sons. Woo! Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. And I'm just so happy to be here tonight to be able to talk with you and to just to be in the presence to talk about such an important topic that doesn't get enough conversation, right? It doesn't get enough conversation on our wavelengths. It doesn't get enough conversations in our homes. So
Right.
tonight, we're going to break all those barriers and we're going to talk about it. So I'm ready. Let's
All
go.
right. Well, let's do it. So, colorism. So, Donise, I'm going to have you educate me tonight too, right? So, from what I understand, it's a form of discrimination based on our skin tone. It's a serious social problem that can be seen throughout the world. You know, I went to Brazil, and believe it or not, we actually saw it there. So beauty can be found, guys, in skin tones, in all skin tones, right? So I want to definitely make sure I say that. Beauty can be found in all skin tones. However, if we regard one skin tone over another, this can really trigger emotions of grief. It can trigger emotions of loss. It can damage self-esteem.
Mhm.
So, like you said, Donise, let's just jump into this topic. So help us to understand what colorism is. And then if you wouldn't mind sharing, are there roots for us to easily trace to colorism?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So you're right. So yes, colorism is a type of discrimination. And first, I want to just make sure that we're giving respect and honor to who coined colorism. Colorism was the word colorism was created by author and social activist Alice Walker. So it is a practice of discrimination in which, lighter skin is treated more fairly and favorably than darker skinned. And even though we're going to talk about this, I also would be remiss if I didn't touch on the fact that it goes on the other side as well too. There are people within our communities who are on the fairer side, the fairer skin side, and they also have had issues with not fitting in, not being brown enough, or not being white enough. So we're going to tap into that too. But basically, the practice is a product of racism within our United States, but it also transcends, like you said, into other countries. And it really totally is a global practice. And we'll talk
Mm,
about that a little bit more. But not only is it global, but and is, stateside, but we also can see it in every area. And I'll tap into that a little while later as well too, because we see it in our media, we see it in the medical fields, we see it, like I said, in our homes. It's everywhere, and it's almost like it's a curse that we need to definitely work on breaking.
amen. And you said something, um, because even when people are grieving, right? Sometimes, people, well-intentional people will say some things that can be damaging. They can be hurtful. So I have had clients talk about people saying things like, you're cute to be dark skinned.
Hmm.
And let's be clear, I've heard that comment as well, right? But I've also heard people, to your point, who are fair skinned, and let's say they may be the lightest person in their family, right, out of siblings, and
Hmm.
they're coined yellow or red, right, and it makes them feel inferior. It makes them feel different. Um, it's Their hurtful comments that I'm talking to adults about that were said to them as children.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, and you asked me, how can we trail this back? Can we bring this back to how this has started? And we know that these issues have been issues for hundreds of years, right? So
Yeah.
we can go back and let's talk about slavery a little bit, right? So we have um, enslaved people with lighter skin. They were assigned, domestic tasks, while enslaved people with darker skin were forced to work outside in the fields and doing much more grueling tasks. But then you're like, okay, well, how are these people light? How are they ending up in these type of situations? Well, again, we're just getting into it. Light skinned enslaved people were favored in that particular time because they were often the product of a slave owner possibly raping an enslaved woman, thus creating a light skinned child. So, because they were a product of that light skinned owner, I mean, excuse me, that slave owner, they were put into what they call the big house or things of that nature. And so when you think about that from hundreds of years ago, and that transcends into today's time, right? Because when that type of activity and behavior is continuous through those centuries, then it begins to be ingrained in people that, that black is not good. That
Yeah.
being lighter skinned is you're more trustworthy and things of that nature. I can trust you with more softer tasks and put into different promotions where a darker skinned person may not have that opportunity. We can move forward outside, going past the slavery moments, and let's talk about the paper bag test, right? So
Yeah.
the paper bag test is a whole different situation. And a paper bag test, for those who are unfamiliar with that, so between the 19th and 20th century, the paper bag test was often utilized in black spaces and then also within hiring of black people. So if someone the same color or lighter skin than a paper bag,
Mm.
they would technically pass the test and they'll be allowed into spaces for hire. Whereas if you were darker than that paper bag, you most likely would not have a job, or you would not have a job that you were desiring, or that pretty much a lot of people weren't desiring, right? And so again, these are domino effects. And
Wow.
these are domino effects that continue to move on. Again, when we move a little further, forward in more current history, I think probably about in the 80s or so, you have the study of skin color bias within our US children. So,
Right.
with that, you have white children who are attributing positive traits to lighter skin and negative traits to darker skin.
Mm.
So we'll go one step further and also talk about the black children who were being studied during that time as well too. Those black children also showed racial biases towards whiteness. And we have to ask ourselves, where does that come from? Because guess what? Children don't stay children forever. Children grow up into adults. And if you have that same mindset as a child, your mindset just doesn't automatically go away as an adult, right? So we have to think about um, how to stop those barriers, how to and actually what we're doing now is having the conversation, and that's one way to move forward and to change the mindsets of people and getting people to understand a love for themselves. And and again, we'll talk about that too. Love for self, that's extremely important. You can't love anybody else
If you don't
and
love
who
yourself.
you are until you know, until you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love me and I love everything about me, even the color that God made me to be, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. You know what? And you said something earlier, right? Just giving us a little history. And again, you guys that are watching, it's okay. You can ask your questions anytime. You were talking about even being enslaved and how the lighter skin, they were given the domestic duties, right? And the ones darker skin, they were typically out in the field. Well, I remember having a conversation with someone, and they were saying that again, you would think that the slaves in the home were given this special treatment, like they were treated better, right?
mhm,
But they were
mhm,
subjected to rape.
mhm,
Sometimes they had nowhere to sleep. They had to sleep on the floor.
yep,
So you didn't necessarily understand like all the challenges that they went through too. You just saw that, oh, hey, they got chosen to be in the big house or whatever.
uh-huh,
Think about it, 11 and 12-year-olds being raped,
babies,
babies.
babies.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's traumatic. It's traumatic in every area, and I truly feel like the damage that was done to, ancestors or people of color, that it's in our DNA, and we carry that pain. And then we also carry behavioral traits, which goes into the things that we're talking about today.
yeah,
And it's unfortunate, but again, when you start having the conversations, your conversations turn into actions. You move from being a bystander and saying, being a contributor and a bystander and some of those things that we say, oh, you're so pretty to be a dark skinned girl, oh, I love your, oh, you're light skinned with long hair. Love who you are
yeah,
and allow each other to, allow us to just be able to love each other, right?
yeah,
Break those barriers, and because love is love
yeah.
and God is love.
God
So
is love. Yes, yes. Um, just loving who we are, everything about us. And I don't know if Chastity is on here tonight or not, but Chastity and I went to an event, Donise, and it was this young girl there, beautiful young girl. She had her hair braided, and I remember when you said love everything about us, our skin tone, your hair texture.
mhm.
Right. I mean, it took me to being an adult to just say, you know what, I'm going to love these thick curly locks, and I'm going to appreciate them and, thank God for them. But
That's
I
right.
remember this little girl, and I said to her, I said, your hair is so pretty, because I wanted this little girl to know that you're beautiful. I love your braids. And she looked at me and she said, and yours is a mess. And I was like, oh,
No, she didn't.
this little girl,
No.
a mess. But you know what it was? Because I had my hair pulled up in a ponytail, but
Uh-huh.
it wasn't straight.
Mm.
So again, we're talking about colorism, but I'm even talking about like even in the beauty arena, right?
Oh,
The
yes.
beauty market, right?
Mhm.
Um, this young girl was looking at me like, your hair is not straight enough.
Mhm.
And for it to
Huh.
be in a ponytail and for you to be beautiful, this is what she's thinking at her little age,
Mhm.
that your hair should be straighter. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah. Because for so long, Blackness has not been equated to beauty. anything related to Blackness has not
Mhm.
been related to the standards of what society would consider as beautiful, right? And
Right.
again, children don't stay children for long. If we don't teach, if that little girl isn't taught differently, and she's going to grow up always thinking that I have to straighten my hair. I have to, you know, be a certain way. I can't be my authentic self when I decide to get out of college and go into a workplace, right? I can't bring my whole self to work. And people, it starts at home. It
Yeah.
starts at home. And I really just feel like, you know, our Black parents, you gotta love on your kids. But again, before loving on your kids, love on yourself. Love on yourself, and then show that love to your kids openly, right? Not just privately. And I say that because, so, both of my parents are brown skinned individuals, and they had no problem sharing, I mean, well, telling, my sister and I how pretty we were, and so I felt good about that. But when you go outside of, your home, the world doesn't necessarily see you like that. And unfortunately, people within your own community don't necessarily see you like that. But so then it becomes a thing. Well, am I just pretty just because my daddy said I was pretty? Or do and then that's when it taps into that self esteem. And
Right.
we have to, again, that's why I said being, parenting and really teaching your children is so important. And it goes so, yes, yes, Patricia, self love. You got to have that. You have to have that in order to be able to share that with those who are watching you. I've often said this before that, we're like, children are like mirrors, and they're gonna reflect what they see, and their microphones, they're gonna respond to what they hear is going on in their house. They're gonna be like speakers and just share what's going on in their home. And so we just have to be careful. We have to be careful, but again, start with that self-love, and then it will generate, it will pour out until you're until around the people that you love.
That's right. Yeah, so we got some comments. Embrace who you are. Yes, Kathy, definitely have to embrace, who we are. Yeah, and to your point, Donise, it has to be that self-love. You have to see that self-worth.
Hmm.
You have to know who you are, whose you are. You
Yes.
know, um, and I think it's important too because again, I don't think any parent, there's no malice. I don't think sometimes when they call the kids, oh, that's my brownie or that's my whatever, right? But I just want parents to understand tonight
Hmm.
through what we're talking about, to understand how it can be damaging and how we can just change that narrative even in our own homes. And especially if your children are going to school and they're being teased because of their skin tone.
Hmm.
And we're making comments like that in the house. I just want us to understand how damaging, that can be. And again, I'm not saying parents that you mean any malice, behind it, but we
Yeah.
have to be careful how we choose our words and what we're speaking over our children.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then also when we think about children, um, children, in certain ways, children can be a little cruel, right? We know that happens, and while people may smile, and kids may kind of brush it off or think they're brushing off, that really does affect them. And then also, I still staying with the topic of around families, and I may step on a couple toes here, but it's okay. We'll be all right. But when we're thinking about families, and like specifically like our Latino families, or our South Asian families, our Black families, or biracial families, there have been times where, within these families, there are hopes that when they produce and have children, that their children grow up to have lighter skin, so their lives may be a little bit easier because of what the course of history has taken us through, and how people of color as a whole have just faced so much discrimination and things of that nature. And again, we got to stop. We have to stop. We have to stop that. And then if we take it outside of our families, let's go into the criminal justice system, right? I think that could easily be a whole other podcast or or conversation, but when we think about our criminal justice system, there is an association with dark skin, with the perception, like I said earlier, in our discussion, where a darker hued person, or they're perceived to most likely commit a crime, or they're
Mm,
um or people identify them more with being suspicious or thinking that they may misbehave, which creates a domino effect for so many other traumatic outcomes, right?
yeah,
And so we've seen this play over time and time again. And again, it's colorism. Just because my skin is brown, you're assuming that I'm going to commit some type of criminal act, right?
mhm,
What makes people feel like that? What gives them that sense of fear? And again, for me, I feel like it just really goes back to history. And it's history that repeats itself without without people taking a stand and people becoming those upstanders and standing up against that and
mhm,
understanding that this is not right. And
yeah,
this, the type of mindsets are just not, it's not what we need in our society. It's not what we need in our world.
right. And Kathy says we also have to teach our children how to respond to crazy hair comments. People constantly touch my twin's hair, asking if it's real hair.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? And I think that's again so unfortunate. And I hate to bring it back to slavery, but at one point, we were not even considered humans. We were considered like chattel and property. And with that, and think about how you pet an animal, right? You pet an animal and you want to feel their fur and stuff. At one point, our ancestors were being petted just like that. So
Mm,
again, it carries. It carries. If we don't break that cycle, you know, and recognize who we are, and again, like you said, whose we are, then it will continue. And it's an unfortunate situation, but I feel like again, with us having conversations like this, and then bringing those conversations into our home, sitting around the table and having those when we get together for Thanksgiving. Okay, let's have a talk about this. Let's talk about the uncle that's always telling you, you so pretty for a dark skinned girl. Oh,
yeah,
you were just so pretty. I can't tell you how many times I have heard that. And when I was little, again, outside my home, that made me think, but inside, okay, yeah, my parents told me, well, yeah, I'm a beautiful girl. My sister and I are beautiful, but beautiful for a dark skinned girl. And here's my family telling this. Now, granted, he was, a fair skinned man, but what did that really mean? It
right.
meant that for dark skin, you're this is not the norm. It's not the norm for a brown skinned girl to be pretty. So you are the exception. No, gone should be, gone are the days where people can say that people in our own people of colors communities should no longer embrace that term,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And for those who understand that and they hear that, that's when it becomes your charge to stop them and say no. Or maybe encourage the conversation. Talk to me a little bit more. Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like for me to be a dark-skinned girl or for me to have these light eyes and long hair? Why is that beautiful for you? Tell me about that. Because I thought I was
mm,
beautiful regardless. Because I don't want to take away from our conversation and like we said before, of not identifying those who have fairer skin who have also endured challenges.
right.
I have a very good friend whose husband endured a lot of discrimination, of being beat up as a kid. He and his brothers were just, chastised and physically abused and because of their light skin, right? But we're black, and it baffles me. It is amazing that that happens. I have another friend who shared with me while being in school, she attended a Catholic school, and she was one of the few African Americans in her school, but it was challenging for her because she could not find where she truly fit in
Mm,
because she was one of the few, right?
right.
She wasn't light enough to be with that crowd of the white girls, but she wasn't dark enough to be with the other 2 or 3 of the dark-skinned girls or the black girls that were attending the school with her. So where does one fit in with that? And you think about that, again, like I said before, children don't stay children forever. that can become to be that could be a complex for you when you become an adult.
Absolutely.
So we have to just think about where the roots of this trauma comes from, because really that's what this is. This
Yeah.
is trauma. These are facets of trauma that um that we as a community go through. So
Yeah.
if we don't begin to talk about it, then it's still the stigma will continue and the cycle will continue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Brandy says seventh grade, she'll never forget her sister, who's 1 year younger than her, passed by her classroom to wave. She's a few shades lighter than Brandy with longer, straighter hair. And a girl in the class said, "Oh, your sister got the looks. You must have gotten the brains."
Mm,
I definitely still remember it. It did hurt for several years after. So again, this is a perfect example of us talking about when we say, what was that little saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Words hurt. Words
yeah,
hurt.
they do.
Words hurt. Um, and we can carry that around. I'm telling you guys, I see clients who are grown who are carrying around words that were spoken over them as children.
Hmm.
And if we don't release those words, if we don't rebuke those words and understand who we are, we let them dominate us. We let them control us.
Yeah,
And you will get to a dark, destructive place. I'm
yeah,
telling you.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Because the word says what the death and life is in the power of the tongue,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there's no age limit to that. Unfortunately there's no late age limit, and also, yeah, Miss Jefferson makes a perfect point about, you know, not being deemed as intelligent because of your darker
yeah,
skin. How about that?
yeah.
How about that?
How
I
about
think I think it's amazing to me that um these are generational and centuries old um barriers
yeah,
that we faced.
yeah,
But thank goodness for conversations like this.
yeah.
Thank goodness for people who no longer want to be quiet and be silenced and also succumb to what others think of them,
Come
right?
on. Yes.
So again, I say, you stand up for yourself, stand up for others. Be you're smart, be smart. Show everybody you're smart. And guess what? It don't matter what color you
No
are.
matter what color you are.
It don't matter what color. So,
And Miss Jefferson, you are on it tonight, ma'am. Yes. Without self acceptance, we often go on self destruct. Yes, that's what I just said. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. A very painful place. And again, you carry that trauma around. Yeah, you can go down a destructive path.
Mhm. 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 Absolutely. I know it.
Oh,
Oh. Well, thank you, Miss Sykes. I appreciate that.
hello, my beautiful cousin Darlette. Hi, how are you?
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
and I even like how you said. So when we hear those hurtful comments, so for example, you're cute to be whatever,
Mhm.
right? Help me understand what you mean by that, because
Mhm.
it causes the other person to really hear what they said,
Right.
to think about what they said.
Yeah.
Again, it could be well meaning, right? They don't mean anything by it.
Exactly. Most times it's not. It's 99% of the time it's nothing malicious in there. There's no malicious intent.
Right,
But like you said, it causes people to stop and think about that,
right.
right? Um, that that happened to me a couple days ago
Wow.
with a family member, and I utilized that moment right then. Well, wait a minute. Well, well, come on, we can't say that. What do you mean by that? And they were like, I just you know what I mean. I mean, you're just pretty. You're a dark skinned girl, but you're pretty. Wait a minute, take the butt out of it.
Right, right,
Your butt gets in the way. The butt gets in the way. We need to stop
right,
letting the butts get in the way. But you to make them pause and reflect and think about it. But again, that's when I tap into and I say it's generational too. It's generational because the person that I was speaking to was older than I am, but very close to me and close enough to say that where I knew, of course, they meant no malicious intent. In fact, they were paying a very beautiful comment. But we're still here on this earth, so we have the opportunity to work on our mindsets and change our mindsets and to think differently, um and move differently. Because
Yeah,
when we know better, we what?
we do better.
Absolutely.
We do better.
Absolutely.
We do better. So Kathy says words have power. Remember that. We should always build others up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Kathy, one thing that I have been saying here recently, and I definitely mean it from the bottom, top, middle of my heart, is that we should be instruments of reconciliation.
Mm. Oh yeah.
We should be instruments of reconciliation. We should be building up. We should be inspiring. We should be encouraging. We should not be turned down.
Mm-mm.
So, yes,
Mm-mm.
ma'am, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jerome, thank you for joining us, Jerome. He said, I agree with that. All right.
Ah, yes. Yeah. I think about colorism and implicit bias as a whole. It's extremely pervasive. And it can be examined in every area, every facet that we look for. It's there. Um, but I think that especially with my profession of being a diversity and inclusion practitioner, if we're, you know, if we're going to be shining the light on those topics of inclusivity, those topics of belonging and justice, then we've got to make sure that these are part of the topics because they affect our they affect us in the workplace. They affect people as far as, and because before I was talking about even getting a job. Now I'm talking about moving up in your company. You're in the job, but how do you move up, right? That still it affects you, and so for the role that I play in the type of job that I have, I think it's very it's a responsibility for me to make sure that we have those type of conversations and bring that in, um bring those topics of discussions into the workplace so people can understand and recognize those biases that they have. We all have biases.
Yes, we
It
do.
just it is what it is, right? And those biases tap into your decision making. And if you're a
Mm,
person of power, and you have that bias that a light skinned person or a dark skinned person of color may or not be the right pick because in the back of your mind, that implicit bias of that color, guess what? You could be missing out on an opportunity. And that's going to affect your bottom line. That's going to affect that person. That person may end up walking out the door and you just missed out on a wonderful opportunity that you didn't even realize that you didn't take the time to look inside yourself and recognize where your biases are and make the choice to work on them, both
come on.
professionally and personally.
Yes.
So,
So you missed out on an opportunity because it didn't come packaged
yeah,
as you.
not the way you wanted it or the way in your mind
Right,
or the way you've been conditioned to think.
right.
It didn't come in the way that you would have expected. So let me go to this person over here.
Mm, 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 mm.
And it's happened and it happens,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we got to call that out.
yeah. Delisa Johnson says, "How do we break the cycle of generational hate?"
Hmm. Great question. I would probably start with what we talked about before, having self-love. Starting with self-love, loving yourself, loving your families, loving your children, and then continuing that love. Because if you lead by example in that area, you lead with love. And keep in mind that I'm talking is different from discipline, right? Since if we're talking about children.
That's
But
right.
if it's a big difference. Um you lead with love, you're going to see that manifest. You're going to see that manifest in them. And then as you get older and you see them produce and they have children, you're going to see the teachings that you put on the inside of them. You're going to see that reflect in them and you're going to see that reflect in their children,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And that's how you change the generational hate. That's how you begin that because it has, again, self, bringing that to others, to your family, allowing them to do the same, right?
right.
Yeah, and being vocal about it. being vocal about it. Like I said, in our own families, we hear something going on, we can respectfully ask to have a conversation about that. You don't have to be disrespectful. um we can have thought-provoking conversations about that as family members, and challenge other people, to challenge them to think differently. And even if they start just thinking carefully, or watching what they say around you, that's a start.
That's right.
That's a start.
That's right.
So I definitely, I appreciate that. I appreciate that that question, Delisa. Thank you.
Right. And then even now, right, we're trying to do something positive, and somebody's trying to come on the page with some foolishness.
Yeah, I see
Guess
that.
what? We don't allow it, and we're not going to
Yeah,
be there.
yeah. This is not
This
the
is not
space
the
for
right
foolishness.
place for it.
Goodbye.
Yes, lead with love. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. Something else too I want to talk about too, because there are tangible things that I think that we can do to stop um these areas of just one of these topics, and areas of discrimination, which is with colorism. We can continue to educate ourselves, right? We should never stop learning. We should be constant learners. Every day of our life. The moment that we stop learning is the moment where we're just done, right? So
right,
I say to continue to educate yourself, know your history, specifically our US history and our culture. Because when you begin to understand that, not just reading, but really understanding that, you're going to find, all of these different examples of implicit bias through our historical events. And you're going to be surprised, like we just talked about, how many examples are tied to what you see in today's time, right?
right.
So I definitely feel like we should always be um, on the learning side of things and choosing to learn. And then again, like we talked about before, leading by example. And Lena, I know you wanted me to mention this before, so I wanted to take a couple of minutes just to talk about this mentoring organization that I'm a
Yeah,
part of. So it's called Pretty Brown Girl. And Sherry Crawley is the founder and creator of this beautiful organization. You may have heard that, and if you're not familiar with Pretty Brown Girl, I encourage you to look it up. But you may have seen them being recognized on Pretty Girls Rock or Girls Rock on BET. But it's a mentoring organization that works with young Black and brown girls from grades like third grade through 12th, I believe. And we focus on areas of confidence, self love, loving yourself, loving your sister, conducting yourself in a way that adds value to your life and acting accordingly, being true and authentic to yourself, and loving every part of you. And when I tell you that this has been such an amazing, rewarding experience, it's wonderful. And the thing is that the great piece about this is that initially when it started, they would find pretty brown women like yourself and me, and we would go into these classrooms and we would talk about, these things, and they would have, just wonderful criteria about dreaming and how to turn your dream, how to manifest your dreams into real, just being realistic about that and focusing yourself and getting to where you see your dreams come to fruition. Well, of course, with the pandemic, it went from a face-to-face situation to a virtual opportunity. And that's where I came in. And I found this by way of helping my son look for a job. And I saw it and I was like, oh, wow, this is a cool opportunity.
mm,
And so this has just been such a rewarding experience because weekly, I have the opportunity to meet with these young women and from a virtual standpoint and just talk to them about different all types of like I said, different categories and different things about loving yourself and loving your sister. We even created a virtual vision board
wow.
and talked about, had them open up and talk about what it is that they want. Where do you see yourself in life? What do you want to do? Really talk about your dreams. Support your sister's dreams when she talks about hers. And so you'll be surprised how being able to tap into girls at such a young age, how that could change their life. And then also visually, them being able to see you, seeing me in the place that I am now as a professional Black woman, and being able to just tap into their life and talk to them like another pretty brown girl sister, right? Because
Yeah.
that's who I am. I'm their pretty brown girl sister. And even down to them, I can't I remember the first time I was nervous. I always get nervous when I'm, just for the first time meeting somebody. And before we hung up, one of the girls yelled, "Oh, I love your hair." I was like, "Oh, thank you." Little did she know, I was like you. I was a whole adult before I decided to let go of the relaxers and just let my hair be what it is. But here I have a pretty brown girl telling me that she loved my hair in this state, in my natural state. And while this program is designed to help girls, in that moment she helped me. She helped me be able to again look at myself and say, "Okay, yeah, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place." And she saw me, and I see her, and I see all of them. So I say that to you to say, if you're looking for an opportunity to be able to mentor, young Black girls and young brown girls, then please check into Pretty Brown Girl. It's an awesome, rewarding opportunity, and um, it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And they are so blessed to have you to be there mentoring them and guiding them. So thank you for what you do. I'm going to put this comment up here. Absolutely believe in learning and continuing conversations about topics that impact specifically women of color and generations of all colors. Thank you for using this platform to have a conversation about self-love.
Mhm.
Thank you, Crystal, so much for your comment, because again, we want this platform to be used again to inspire, to bring hope, to bring encouragement, to unite. And Donise, we started doing this when the pandemic started because we couldn't have the group classes. We
Mhm.
felt comfortable having the group classes. So I remember praying and asking God, like, well, okay, well, how are we going to help the people? How are we going to help your people? Right? This is a time where they need us,
That's right.
and they need healing, and we can't meet face to face. So I just felt led to do this, to have this platform,
Mhm.
not to self promote, just self promote Forever Healed, but to have a platform where we can talk about topics, right,
Mhm.
that's impacting all of us as a community. Also lifting up,
Mhm.
other business owners, entrepreneurs, women like yourself, even men come on here and talk about things that they're doing in the community, to just talk about all the great work that's happening. How do we come together,
Yeah.
like we're doing tonight, to talk about these tough topics, but to try to bring about some change?
That's right.
So Crystal, I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to thank you for that, because it's just confirmation of what we wanted this to be.
Mhm.
And for you to feel that, it just let me know that we're still on the right track. So thank
Mhm.
you so much. Um, yes, I want to check them out too, Miss Pat. Awesome organization, donation, anything that we can do to help partner with them, whatever we can do to help you out, that organization, please let us know.
Yeah.
As parents, we do have to make time, even when we don't feel like it, to expose our children, neighbors, to such programs.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
they
Thank
just
you
keep
for
coming
that.
in. Chastity said that's awesome. Thank you, Chastity. This is so important. Thanks for having this crucial conversation. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you for joining. Yes, a platform sometimes is all that is needed to share feelings, to heal. Yeah, yes, yes, Brandy. Yes, Brandy. Yes, Brandy. Thank you so much, Donise Farmer.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Jerome, we don't do foolishness on here. We we don't give foolishness a platform on here. But
There you go.
but we love them.
There you go.
But we're not going to use this platform to air any type of hatred. We are here to again, to be instruments of reconciliation. So
That's right. That's
praise
right.
God.
And who knows, maybe they'll learn something too.
That's
Maybe, looking past all of this hate that they're trying to spew, maybe they'll a piece of it will stick with them and they'll think about it.
exactly.
Planting seeds wherever we go.
Planting seeds.
Yeah. That's
Planting
that's that's what
seeds.
we do. That's what we do.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you all. I'm so glad that you enjoyed tonight. All right. Yes. Constant healing. Constant healing. So, Donise, thank you so much for helping us to understand this very challenging topic, um, giving us the root of it, teaching us how to break these generational curses, talking about self-love, even how to address conversations when they're a little uncomfortable. So when we hear comments like, you're cute to be lighter skin or whatever it is, you're being called yellow, red, or you're cute to be dark skin, to even teach us how to engage in that
Mhm.
conversation, to say, hey, help
Yeah,
me understand what do you mean by that, right?
absolutely.
This is what I hear when you say that.
There
You
you
might
go.
not mean that, but this is what I hear. So
Yeah.
it causes a person to kind of pause a second and to hear themselves. And then how do we break this, right? So again, it starts with us. It starts in our home. It starts with one person at a time. It starts with us having these conversations about it.
Mhm.
That's
Mm.
how we make change, y'all. So we can't just keep talking about it and holding it in, right? Oh, we shouldn't
Right.
be talking about that. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Um,
Always, always.
always
Like, it
talking
if you
about.
have it, let it stop today and start that conversation.
Yes,
Start with your children, you know?
yeah,
Start with your partners.
yeah,
Do it, just start.
yeah,
I'm so thankful for this platform and thankful for you. Forever Healed is truly the bomb. And you are, and it is because you are. And I just really wanna just give you your flowers right now and just let everybody know that you are amazing, Lena. Your platform is amazing. You have helped people that, like we just talked about, that you may or may not even physically see, but you are really affecting the world in such a positive way and creating a positive impact. And I thank you for bringing me along in your journey
I
and
have
allowing the world to be able to peek into our conversations, because y'all, we have these
them
type of
all the time.
conversations. We've been having them for years, but I guess God said, you know what, it's time for the world to hear a little bit of what y'all talking about. So
Yeah,
I just thank you for inviting me here and being able to share this, share what was on my heart, share my experience and my expertise, and I hope that our conversations have truly helped at least one person here, and will continue the conversation to flow and change to move forward. One thing I did want to share. This was something that was shared with me a couple of days ago. Another DE&I practitioner. Her name is Cheryl Cofield. She's the goat. She's amazing. She shared with me this song, that, because she does some different colorism workshops and things of that nature. And there was a song that she brought to my attention by Nina Simone, and it's called "For Women." And so I would ask that everybody listening tonight look this up. So this is a song, and the one that there's different versions, but the one that she put me on to will bring chills to your
mm,
spine. It is, I think, Lettucey sings it. It's Lettucey sings one part, Marsha Ambrosia, Jill Scott, and the last person, it skips my mind. But anyway, if you look it up online, look it up on YouTube, you will see it. But anyway, it's four different stanzas of talking about women, and it taps into that colorism. When
wow.
they start talking about that, they talk about, this, her skin is tan, her skin is dark, her skin is, and who they are. And it talks about the strength, the resilience, the pain, the suffering that Black women have gone through for centuries, right?
Wow.
And so I just want to make sure that you all tap into that, because I could listen to it forever, because to me it just brings this conversation that we've had, just it sums it all up. It sums it all up of you know the things that we've gone through, but how beautiful we are. How
So
beautiful we truly are.
Nina Simone, For Women.
For women,
Okay,
yes.
you
And if
got
you look it up
that?
on YouTube, look up the one, like I said, I think it was from Girls Rock maybe in 2010, but if you look up just Nina Simone, For Women, Jill Scott, or one,
Okay,
just look up one of the artists and you'll pull it up. It was like a
okay,
live performance. Beautiful.
okay.
Beautiful.
So y'all gotta check it out. So all right, we're gonna close out with a few more comments. Thank you, Stephanie. She said amazing conversation and so needed. Thank you both for taking the charge and leading this conversation. Continuous healing is very much needed in this moment. Yes. This was so refreshing to hear that others doing this amazing work. You both are phenomenal women, so thank you again for taking time out. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Stephanie.
Steph.
Thank you for what you are doing as well. Maybe I got to get you on here one night. How about that?
You do. You do.
So we
You
can
do.
chat.
Yes, absolutely.
Kathy said, yes, totally agree. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys are blessing me. Thank you, Aunt Debbie, all the way from Texas. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Elder Cook. Thank you. It's always great when I can have you on here supporting. I appreciate you. Thanks, Miss Pat. You are always a supporter. I just thank God for you. This is one woman, Donise, who supports everybody. I can tell you, she's an author. She has a nonprofit. But when I tell you, she promotes everybody. And I love that. Supports everybody.
Look her up. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Vicki. Thank you. So powerful conversation tonight, Donise. Thank you so much again for just everything that you do. Again, I have always enjoyed our conversations. You are a beautiful woman, an intelligent woman, a humble woman. So I just thank you for everything that you do and how you pour out into others. I know when I first met you, I was like, ooh, something about her. See, the fruit recognizes the fruit. And I know you was always sweet with you. I couldn't wait to have you on here tonight. This is a topic that we had to talk about. This is a topic we had to talk about. So remember, guys, beauty can be found in people of all skin tones.
Absolutely.
Beauty can be found in people of all skin tones. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks talking to you again. I want everybody to have a peaceful rest tonight. And don't forget that you can reach us at www.foreverheal.com. If you found this conversation to be helpful, please share this, like it. Why? Because it's social ministry. Ministry. And we want to bring healing to many people, that we can. I'm going to be reaching out to some of you guys who commented tonight to see if we can partner in some way. We're going to keep uplifting, others, bringing them on and sharing what we do with the community. Amen.
Amen. Right.
Donise, thank you so much again. You have a great rest tonight. I'm going to ask you to hold on. But everybody else, good night. Oh, they're still coming in, Donise. You see, oh my God.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Good night. We'll see you next.
All right. Good night.